It is a commonly accepted fact in the Church that the age appointed by the Lord to ordain a deacon is the age of 12. Their formal duties, unique to their office and practice, are to pass the sacrament and to collect fast offerings. But is this what the Lord intended? The fact is that the Scriptures paint an entirely different picture. In a revelation to the saints at the organization of the Church, the Lord instructs deacons to warn, expound, exhort, and teach, and invite all to come unto Christ. But what does this mean? The Lord does not waste words, nor does he dictate nebulous revelations devoid of context. In other words, the mandate for deacons to teach and invite to come to Christ cannot be fulfilled in the Church under any ecclesiastical context. It must be performed within the specific sphere the Lord intended. What then is that sphere? The revelations in the Doctrine and Covenants refer to two different kinds of ministers, standing and traveling. The Lord specifically identified high priests, 70s, apostles, elders, and priests as traveling ministers, whereas deacons and teachers are standing ministers. The traveling ministers travel among all the nations and between the branches of the Church. Standing ministers, in contrast, bear the largest burden of responsibility for caring for and nurturing the saints within the stakes of Zion. Elders are identified as also being standing ministers when they are not traveling, but the Lord is clear that the primary responsibility to watch over the Church belongs to the deacons and teachers. This, then, is the context in which deacons teach and invite all to come unto Christ. The Lord has commanded that deacons and teachers be the front-line priesthood holders in the organized churches, taking the largest burden of responsibility for teaching the gospel. Teaching deacons' quorum lessons does not fulfill the requirement of serving as a standing minister and watching over the church. Besides, the instruction of a teacher's quorum is reserved for the president of the quorum and not its members. The Lord has also instructed deacons to issue worthiness certificates to relocating members. This is significant, for it implies that deacons need to be aware of the worthiness standing of any and every member within their jurisdiction. This is in complete harmony with the previously articulated priesthood duty of a standing minister to those under their watch. Like all priesthood officers in the church, the deacons are to be instructed in the school of the prophets. The deacons are also to maintain an office in the temple for their quorum presidency. The Lord makes it very clear that the deacons are prohibited from administering the sacrament. Since administering the sacrament includes breaking the bread, blessing the bread, and passing the bread, they should not be passing the sacrament. Deacons are also prohibited from laying on hands. These responsibilities, that of teaching members as the primary instructors, monitoring member worthiness and issuing worthiness certificates, are very adult responsibilities, something that certainly should not be trusted to 12-year-old boys. It is for this reason that President Brigham Young taught against the practice of ordaining the youth to the Aaronic priesthood. It is important to note that to qualify to be a deacon, according to President Young, it is not even enough to be an adult. One has to have experience as a father and husband. Taken within the context of how the Church manages the Aaronic priesthood, this statement from Brigham Young is damning. Brigham Young essentially condemns the Church for ordaining the ignorant to do the duty of the family man. Brigham Young censures the Church for ordaining boys to the office of deacon. Yet, Brigham Young is in complete harmony with the scriptural record. The duties are truly adult duties, and the duties that Brigham Young happens to mention fit within the rubric of standing minister. It should come as no surprise that Brigham Young's guidance to ordain only men with families to the office of deacon was repeated by the Apostle Paul to the saints of that dispensation. In the previous video in this series, it was noted that the office of deacon was reserved for married men and was coupled with adult responsibilities, while the office of teacher has additional responsibilities beyond that of a deacon. It also shares in many of the same responsibilities. Like deacons, teachers are to warn, expound, exhort, and teach, and invite all to come unto Christ in the capacity of standing ministers. Teachers, like deacons, bear the largest responsibility for nurturing the saints in the stakes of Zion. Like deacons, teachers issue worthiness certificates to relocating members, maintaining an awareness of the worthiness standing of any and every member in their locality. Teachers are to be instructed in the school of the prophets and maintain an office in the temple for their quorum presidencies. Teachers are prohibited from administering the sacrament, a three-part process involving breaking bread, blessing bread, and dispensing or passing bread. They are also prohibited from laying on hands. Additionally, the Doctrine and Covenants expands the duties of the teachers beyond that of deacons. Teachers also have membership clerk duties, wherein they attend conferences with presiding elders to correlate the membership records from their localities with the general church records. Teachers are also charged with seeing that members meet often, implying that the organization of church meetings, such as sacrament meeting, is the duty of the teacher. Teachers even lead meetings in the absence of an elder or a priest. These duties imply that the teacher is a senior priesthood officer at the local level, monitoring worthiness of local members, teaching the members the gospel, maintaining membership records, organizing, and even leading local church meetings. The office of priest is the first priesthood office that is authorized to administer ordinances. Teachers and deacons are explicitly forbidden from administering the sacrament and baptizing. Furthermore, they are not explicitly authorized to ordain other teachers or deacons. Priests are authorized to administer the sacrament as well as baptize. Priests can ordain other priests, teachers, and deacons. The office of priest is the only priesthood office explicitly authorized to visit members in their homes. There they are to exhort members to pray and attend to family duties. While it is technically true that higher priesthood offices can officiate in the duties of lower priesthood offices, this is not ideal. If the elders perform the duties of the priest, what duties shall the priest perform, and who will perform the duties of the elder? Thus, it is inappropriate for the elders to visit the members in their homes when the Lord has given that duty to the priests and only the priests. Priests also assist elders in instructing new members regarding the church prior to their participation in the sacrament. The priests are to assist the elders in their other duties as well. This highlights an important anomaly in current church policy. In the church today, higher offices assist and often supplant lower offices in their duties. In his revelations to Joseph Smith, however, we see on multiple occasions the Lord commanding lower offices to assist the higher offices, specifically the priests assisting the elders. The revelations in the Doctrine and Covenants dictate a complete reversal in what the church teaches today. Finally, the priests are identified as traveling ministers, in contrast to the deacons and teachers who are standing ministers. The priests are not local assets in the same sense that teachers and deacons are. Priests travel from locality to locality, assisting the elders, leading meetings set up by the teachers, baptizing and teaching new members, visiting members in their homes, and administering the sacrament. Bishops in the church today have 4 basic responsibilities: serving as the presiding officer in a ward, issuing callings to ward members, screening members for worthiness, and collecting tithes and offerings. Furthermore, bishops are selected by the stake president, and as a rule, from the high priest group of the ward. But is this what the scriptures tell us a bishop should be doing? We will test the current paradigm of bishops with the scriptural record. According to the Doctrine and Covenants, the selection of bishop is to be made by the first presidency and not the stake presidency. Additionally, bishops are to be tried for sins by the first presidency, not the stake presidency. Furthermore, by rule rather than by exception, bishops are to be of the lineage of Aaron within the tribe of Levi. Bishops that are called from among the high priests are merely filling in for those with the true right to this office in the church. Bishops are judges in Israel in two senses. First, they judge members who transgress God's law in conjunction with at least two elders. The scriptures are clear that such sins as adultery, dishonesty, pornography, theft, and others are excommunicable offenses. The Doctrine and Covenants shows that the Lord has appointed the bishop, not his counselors or the stake president, to be the judge in these matters. This process is very different from worthiness screening, however. For a bishop to take action against a member for an alleged sin, there needs to be 2 or 3 witnesses in a church trial. As the scriptures have repeated on numerous occasions, every word shall be established by 2 or 3 witnesses. This has enormous consequences for the worthiness screening process. First, it means that the bishop is not allowed to take unilateral action against a member of the church respecting their worthiness. If a member has allegedly committed a sin, there needs to be a trial. The bishop is assisted by no less than 2 elders. There needs to be at least 2 witnesses of the sin. A bishop can't, behind closed doors, alone, and without multiple witnesses, pass judgment on a church member. Bishops are also judges in the sense that they are to administer the united order. They manage land inheritances, the storehouse, redistribution of wealth among the saints, and other related matters. Importantly, it was to assist in these duties, not those of judging sin, that the Lord authorized the use of counselors to the bishop. The bishop, along with the elders, are also responsible to determine which alleged spiritual gifts that are present among the saints are from God and which are not. This determination is to be made public so as to protect the saints from fraud. It is troubling that this responsibility is either being shirked on a large scale in the church today or completely irrelevant, since the saints no longer claim to have gifts of the Spirit for the bishop to discern. In the first 3 videos in this series, the duties of the deacons, teachers, and priests were detailed. They are adult responsibilities for married individuals. Every worthy male will not necessarily be an elder, but he might be a member of the deacon's quorum. The scriptures teach that the bishop is the president over all the Aaronic Priesthood quorums. The sizes of the quorums indicate this is an enormous responsibility. Deacons' quorums are to contain 12 members, teachers' quorums comprise 24 individuals, and priest quorums are to contain 48 members. The bishop is to directly preside over that 48-member quorum of priests. This casts some doubt over the notion that each ward should have a bishop. This places the bishop in charge of at least 84 priesthood officers, assuming only 1 quorum of each of the priesthood offices in question. Would a ward even have 48 priests? In fact, bishops are stake-level responsibilities, with each stake having 1 bishop. This makes sense, since the most basic unit in the United Order was the city stake. One of the key responsibilities of the bishop was to administer the United Order. With the city stake being the smallest unit in the United Order, and since the scriptures show that each city stake was fiscally independent of the other, it makes sense that the city stake would have one bishop to administer it. One of the early bishops, Newell K. Whitney, was commanded to travel between the churches, equalizing the temporal blessings of the saints, further indicating that a single bishop was responsible for multiple local units within a stake. The bishop's role as the head of the Aaronic Priesthood also becomes clear. He is the president of the priest quorum, a single quorum of 48 priests serving the entire city stake. The teachers and deacons are standing ministers at the local level. Thus, wards would have one or more deacons and teachers quorums, whose presidents would be accountable to the stake's bishop. Lastly, since church courts take place at the stake level, and the judge of church courts is the bishop rather than the stake president, it would make sense that the bishop would be a stake-level office. In contrast to their role as ward-level authorities, presiding over minuscule priest quorums, devoid of any responsibilities respecting the United Order or responsibilities with church courts, we find that bishops are in fact to be the judges in Israel, presiding at church courts at the stake level. They administer the United Order, which is also to be presided at the stake level. The priest's quorum has 48 members or traveling priests, traveling because they move from ward to ward, meeting its various duties. Lastly, the bishops preside over the entire stake's Levitical order, ensuring that the teachers and deacons' quorums at the local levels are doing their duties.